If you're anything like I was 3 years ago, the reason you clicked on this video is because you want to become a reseller. The fear of the unknown is holding you back though, and you're not too sure on how to even get started. So what I did was I went together and I pulled 5 tips that I think are really helpful to new resellers and things that I wish I personally had known before I started reselling. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into number 5. Shipping is one of the most vital parts about being a reseller. If you're able to predict how much something will ship for, it'll help you maintain consistent profit margins and make sure you're not losing any money in the ship. The good news is eBay specifically will usually predict this for you ahead of time. If you list your items based off of a comparable value, usually their shipping will be able to be transferred over to your listing.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I'll go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So I went ahead and just pulled up an example listing. This is just a PS2 controller for Guitar Hero that I had. But if you keep scrolling all the way down to the bottom and you hit sell one like this, and then it'll ask you for your photos and stuff like that, but we're not worried about that right this second. We want to go all the way down to the shipping. You'll find an area where you can put estimated shipping in based on the size of the box and the weight. For this, I highly suggest you buy a scale to help estimate this. It will give you a semi-accurate numbers and let your customers know how much each is going to cost to ship. I always avoid the flat shipping options that you can see right here. You can decide a flat shipping cost. Honestly, I avoid those just because the calculated shipping is a lot easier, especially if you're like somewhere on like the East Coast and you need to ship it all the way to the West Coast. It's going to cost you a lot more if you're shipping to somewhere else on the East Coast. So always keep that in mind whenever you're doing shipping. If you want to offer flat shipping and you have a good idea of how much it's going to cost, like you're using flat rate boxes, that's also fine too. My bonus tip to help you save money on shipping when you're first getting started out is if you have a lot of friends and family that go ahead and order stuff on Amazon all the time, I would say have them open their boxes relatively carefully, have them keep those boxes for you, and then come and collect them like once a week or whenever they feel is convenient for them. This will help cut down on your initial cost of shipping because you're getting the boxes essentially for free, you're getting packing supplies for free, and that stuff all adds up. While it's usually inexpensive, and I'll probably do another video just teaching you where to get stuff for cheap to do the shipping options if you want to get to a more professional level. For now, just go ahead and see if you have any friends and family that order stuff off Amazon all the time. That'll definitely help you. I ran my business for the first year and a half exclusively off of packing supplies that my friends and family had provided for me. I still got tons of positive feedback from eBay saying they were impressed with how well the item was packaged. You tend to use a little bit more of the packing supplies if you aren't paying for it. Getting down to number 4 in the list, there's always a few apps that I suggest you download to help you when you're at yard sales, thrift stores, or even at flea market. For simplicity purposes, the eBay app and Google Lens are going to be your 2 best friends. The eBay app is easy to use and you can either search it by looking up the description of the item, or you can use the UPC barcode on the back of pretty much any product that still has its original box. The Google Lens app, while it does take a little bit more work to get to the results you want to, it's going to give you a broader spectrum of the type of item you're looking for and possibly even give you a description of something you have no idea what you're looking at. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my eBay app, and I'm going to click the camera icon in the top right of the screen. It'll open up your camera and let you go ahead and scan the UPC of an item. So I just picked this random PlayStation 2 game. What you want to do is you want to scroll down and then hit sold items, and you can go ahead and see from there that this item sells for about $10 to $12 depending on the condition it looks like. As long as the game is complete, it can sell from anywhere from, well, actually it looks like $8 all the way up to $12, just depending. So the other way I want to show you that you can search for things is typing in the actual item. So I'm going to use that Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX2 for PlayStation 2. Usually if you start even typing it, it's going to come up with a couple things. So this will show you all your listings, but here's a great example. The game we have is the original release that came out in 2002, and there was another copy in 2002 that came out on PlayStation 2 Greatest Hits. You want to make sure that you're very specific about your item or that you're clicking on the right comps. So here I can see that it shows 272 results of that game that is listed, When I hit sold, it's just gonna show me 110 results sold. So it has a decent sell-through rate. The second app I wanna talk about briefly is the Google Lens app. So it's just gonna pull up like this. It's gonna look like a regular Google search bar. But if you go ahead and pull up the camera, and I'm gonna use this copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to do this. Sorry about the shakiness. It'll go ahead and look it up. It'll tell me exactly what the game is. It'll show me listings from like Amazon and eBay and stuff. Now again, this is one of those things that you have to be careful with because like I said, this is a PlayStation Greatest Hits, which is a different copy that came out. It's not the original release. So you wanna make sure that you guys are being vigilant when you're using these tools. If you're unable to find something either on eBay or through the Google Lens app, you can always head to Facebook or one other social media that has thrifting groups. These groups typically are full of very knowledgeable people. Some people are putting 20 years plus of experience to work, and it shows whenever you ask them a question. Generally, they'll have a good knowledge of what the item is and even what its estimated value is at. But even if they're unable to come up with an estimation for you, generally speaking, somebody's gonna know what the item is that you picked up. But always make sure you do your own research. You never wanna take somebody's word for something, list something for a certain price, and then either A, end up underpricing it so far that it sells within 2 minutes, which is great, but realistically, you could have gotten another $40 to $80 on it. Or you have the opposite happen where you go $100 over what it's worth and it's sitting there for years and you forget about it because it's honestly just sitting in an inventory pile. So we finally hit number 3 on the list, and I'm realizing now as a reseller 3 years later that top dollar isn't always the right answer. Obviously you want to get the most out of your items, but sometimes taking a lower offer is the only way that item is going to move. My general rule of thumb is if you get an offer on an item within the first hour that it's listed, likely that means that that item will sell pretty fast and you can probably hold out for your asking price. In reality, most people on eBay, at least in my experience, are gonna offer you a pretty reasonable offer for the item you have listed. Usually it's worth it to take it, but sometimes you'll even get lowball offers. Obviously you just wanna ignore these or counter them with a really nice message. I always kill them with kindness in my counter offers. I always give them at least 10% off. That's usually where I like to be at whenever I get an offer. Even if you throw them a message that says something along the lines of, hey, I got your offer, is there any way we can meet in the middle? Making an offer like this doesn't always work, but I notice the nicer you are, usually the more people are willing to work with you. Even if they send you a counter offer, usually it's still going to be a number that you're going to be okay with. It doesn't always work, but this is one of the best ways to get people to work with you on the price. Another thing that I typically do is if somebody's like, I want your item, but I don't want to pay for shipping, usually I'll just send them an offer that has what I estimate the shipping will be or close to it. Usually they're good with that and they'll go ahead and buy it right then and there. If there's anything Amazon.com has taught us is that people will pay a premium for free shipping. Before I get into the top 2 tips today, I need to ask you, did you drink water? Did you drink water today? See, Mac drank his water today. You can tell because his tail is wagging. But seriously, in the amount of time it takes you to drink that water, you can go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button before you even finish your sip. Now, let's go ahead and get right back into the video. Coming in at number 2 might be a more obvious tip to some of you, but don't ever overspend. To clarify, this is a lot like the stock market. Only be willing to gamble the money that you're willing to lose. Proper research can help improve your odds of turning a profit, but just like any other business, reselling has its risks. You probably think spending $1 to turn it into 10 is a great deal, but if that item takes years to sell, you're better off putting your money elsewhere. This will ensure that your account is healthy, items are moving, and you're getting positive feedback. This will help your account grow and help you make much more money in the long run. My extra thought here is to make sure you have space for the items you're buying. Don't be flipping motorcycles in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'll tell you from experience, it's not easy. Some examples, if you're limited on space for high dollar, smaller items, are video games, certain brands of clothing, and luxury watches, just to name a few. Finally, we've arrived at number 1, and honestly, I cannot stress this tip enough. Make sure when you're walking into that yard sale or that Goodwill, you're purchasing with your brain and not with your heart. In reality, when you're purchasing with your heart, you're just buying things that you think have value and in reality may not have value to other people. It's okay to buy stuff for yourself, but I've made the mistake way too many times where I picked up something without even looking it up because I assumed it would carry a premium. In reality, the numbers don't lie, so make sure you're looking up comparable values before you even walk out that door with that item. That need to walk out with something so you feel like the trip wasn't wasted sometimes will overpower you, and you're gonna end up walking out with something that isn't really gonna sell, or if it does sell, it's gonna take a really long time to do so. I've walked out with items about 3 years ago, and guess what? They still live in my house. Make sure if you're looking stuff up on eBay, you look at how many are listed and compare that to how many are sold. That'll tell you your sell-through rate. So if you have 1,000 listed and only 10 sold, that item's probably not going to sell very well in the next 90 days. But if you have 10 listed and 1,000 sold, then that item's going to sell almost immediately. These are things to always look out for whenever you want to flip inventory, especially when you're first starting and you don't have much startup capital. If you guys want to see me in action, go ahead and click that video right there where I take you on a Goodwill thrifting adventure with me. If you want to check out some of my other videos, go ahead and click my logo right there to go ahead and take you right to my channel. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, guys. Peace.